Apex Legends Season 0 launched with our friendly neighborhood robot, Pathfinder.
Hi.
The story and lore of Pathfinder can be confusing, so we're going to follow the timeline as events happen, starting with his creation.
Let's have fun, friend.
Before we drop in, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Opera GX, the browser that puts us gamers first. And no, that's not some cliche statement. I actually prefer this browser over others, and that has a lot to do with its integrations across things like Twitch, Twitter, and Discord. Right in the sidebar here, you can see if you have any notifications, who's live on Twitch, what they're playing, and one click will take you right to their stream. For messaging apps, I mostly use Facebook Messenger, Twitter, and Discord, but if you use something else, there are plenty of others that you can add as well. Opera GX also has music streaming built into it, so you can listen, pause, and skip from whichever service you stream from. If you're like me and always have several tabs open while you're working, gaming, streaming, whatever, you can limit the network, memory, and CPU allocations to Opera GX, or just directly check which tabs may be taking up more resources and kill those if you want better performance. There's a bunch of customization options as well. Don't like the classic theme?
Nope.
Okay then, change it. Hate getting slapped by light mode when you load up a site? You can force dark pages. Probably my favorite thing of all though is the GX Corner. It has the release dates for any upcoming games, and you can filter for whatever platforms you play on. It also lists current deals, free games, and the most recent news in gaming. I just like that it's all concise and in one spot, because I definitely am not the kind of person to go look up any of this stuff regularly, but when it's just there in front of you, you might catch a good deal or notice a game you want to check out. Opera GX is free and you'll probably actually like it, so go download it with the link in the description or comment section, and let's get back into the video. Pathfinder first got his iconic smile on February 4th of 2658 as part of this thing called Project Iris. It was basically an adult science project funded by Lillian Peck, a, well, billionaire humanitarian godmother of Newton and the woman that created Olympus. Led by Aleki Gibraltar, the big boy's grandfather, the group's objective was to refine the newly discovered element Branthium. It was first synthesized 15 years prior in 2646 by Horizon on the accretion disk of a black hole, but after her assistant Ash yoinked it, leaving Horizon for dead, the scientists still needed to refine the Branthium for it to be a usable energy source. Basically, the Outlands were going through quite the energy crisis at the time, and if this group of scientists could figure out a way to successfully refine, mass produce, and transport the Branthium, well, they'd end the energy crisis. A few years into the crisis, they had a breakthrough in their research. Newton, Horizon's grown-up baby boy, pointed out that they'd need to do some adjustments on the refinery itself while it was on for successful refinement. Noting that humans were just skin bags that couldn't withstand the conditions inside the reactor, Ash had the idea of modifying a MRVN to do the task for them. So they took a MRVN, replaced its body parts with reinforced metal, and added a specialized heat shield to withstand the reactor's high temperatures. It was given state-of-the-art facial recognition software, customized programming, the ability to hold a conversation, a buttload of medical and physics knowledge, and a pair of nuts. They had to make all these modifications because Pathfinder needed to be able to autonomously complete complicated tasks during refinement that humans couldn't. Interestingly, his single personality is a blend of all the scientists' personalities, and he was given the ability to learn new skills by learning from experience. Think of Pathfinder's creation like the Robo Boys at Boston Dynamics, but these things would actually have a conscience and apparently not eventually try to take over the world. With the help of Pathfinder, the first batch of Branthium was successfully refined after 10 months. The group held a little celebration, but Ash and Newton were both missing for some reason. Turns out Ash had told Newton to take the night off because she had been making plans with the IMC and Apex Predators to seize control of the facility and transport the Branthium via the Phase Runner to the planet of Gridiron. She alludes to killing Horizon, and then there's a cut to black.
Wouldn't be my first kill, dearies.
In the next scene, we see one of the scientists, actually Watson's grandmother Emily, with a bandaged nub where her hand used to be. The events weren't shown, but after Ash had seized control of the scientist, she was trying to bypass a security system, but it required biometric scan of 2 different scientist hands at the same time. Ash asked her former scientist homies if any of them would lend her a hand, and Emily said she would, but instead just used the moment to insult Ash. Ash didn't find it very funny, so she sliced off Amelie's hand and placed it on the biometric scanner anyway, overriding the security system. This is why Ash says,
Thanks for the hand. Now I've got everything I need, Doctor.
Pathfinder, hiding in the perfect rat spot, hadn't been spotted by the apex predators yet and managed to activate a failsafe, killing power to the phase runner and momentarily stopping Ash from transporting the Branthium. Mistaking Pathfinder for a lowly Marvin, the soldiers get outsmarted and outgunned by our boy. The phase runner whirls back up and Pathfinder rushes over to stop the Branthium transport. He shuts it down just in time, but surprise, bitch! Ash shows up and gives Pathfinder a trip to Pound Town, but Pathfinder didn't consent and shoves Ash away. She falls to the ground and her sword slides over to these white boots while Pathfinder unfriend zones her and, oh god, she's got a gun! Pathfinder, no! Stand up, no. Leave the game, she's finishing you. Holy shit! Ash gets third-partied by Amelie, and the scientists help Pathfinder to his feet, but there are more bad boys on the way, so the team transports as much Branthium as they can back to Lily and Peck through the phase runner. Running out of time with a significant amount of Branthium still left unsent, Pathfinder initiates the self-destruct sequence, says goodbye to his family, and travels through the phase runner. The destruction of the facility results in the Rift. Pathfinder gets disabled and ends up transported to the planet Solus. The Branthium was successfully transported, however, ending the energy crisis and making Lily and Peck, Octane's dad Duardo, and Lifeline's parents extremely rich because they were all backers of the Peck Foundation. When Pathfinder eventually woke up, he found himself in an abandoned warehouse with no memory of his past or purpose. So he set off in search of his creators, stowing away on merchant ships traveling from planet to planet for several years. Apparently, someone tried stealing one of Pathfinder's legs at one point, which resulted in it being broken, so he took up a job working as a waiter in Malta to not only get the money to fix his leg, but also maybe gain some information about who could have created him. Okay, quick side jump over to this guy, Victor Maldera, a dishonorably discharged former lieutenant and detective for the Malta Police Department. Maldera had gotten into a bit of an altercation with his superior officers over a case regarding the burning of Humbert Labs, which resulted in him getting kicked from the PD. Maldera was convinced and obsessed with proving that Dr. Knox, the dude that all you sociopaths play as, was the reason Humbert Labs burned down. Maldera then got a new, not so cool job as a security guard for a restaurant, and in 2725 had a chance encounter with Pathfinder. Thinking Pathfinder was at fault, he began extracting his memory files for proof. He watched Pathfinder get fired at past jobs, anticipating the scuffle in the restaurant, but stumbled across a video of Pathfinder cleaning the windows of Humbert Labs with proof of Caustic grappling out just as he entered the room. He wanted to see more, so he told Pathfinder to rewind, but mistakenly, Path stopped abruptly on a memory from the day of the Phase Runner incident where Amelie mentioned his name and authorized him to self-destruct the facility.
Pathfinder,
Pathfinder.
we've made you for a great purpose.
Then some mob bro disconnects the feed out of nowhere, which upsets Maldera, and the two manage to haymaker their way out of there, stealing the dropship. The mob pursues them and radios to Maldera,
Surrender and we'll help you find Knox. You can't escape.
which is sadly Maldera's one goal in life, but before he can respond, lightning strikes the same place twice and specters begin boarding. This ship starts going down, Pathfinder gets knocked off, but learns the art of grapple movement tech. He fights it out with one of the specters, and just when Mobman is about to two-tap him to the chest, our sweaty Wraith main Maldera one-taps him straight off the ship. They managed to escape, but because Pathfinder had tanked one shot to the chest, his video files got corrupted. Maldera then spends a last moment with Pathfinder as his lights go out.
They're almost here. Marvin, we need you. Your existence is proof that the Outlands can survive. People must be told about you are our Pathfinder. We've made you for a great purpose.
And with that, Pathfinder was dead. Until this raindrop reactivated him. So he continued on his search to learn more about himself and his creators. Recalling from a memory log that drunk people at bars are a good source of information, Pathfinder made his way to the nearest one, where he met a bamboozling bartender named Elliot Witt. We know Mr. Witt as Mirage, but He understood Pathfinder's quest and thought the Apex games might be the perfect platform for Pathfinder to gain fame and influence to help him find his creators. So he did just that with a super high win rate. And after 6 seasons of the Apex games and with the help of Hammond Robotics, the Mercenary Syndicate moved the next season of Apex to the floating city of Olympus. Here, the home of Lifeline, Octane, and Horizon, Pathfinder came across a Marvin that he thought was some kind of a long-lost dead relative. This made Pathfinder sad, so Gibby, Lifeline, and Octane all wanted to cheer him up by reactivating the Marvin. They thought, hey, it probably just needs a new battery, but the model of the Marvin was from the past century, so it'd be pretty tough to find one. Lifeline mentions her filthy rich father is an antique robot collector, and they could all just swing by his charity event in downtown Malta to probably snag the right batteries. So the crew hits the town in their fanciest attire, and Pathfinder literally replaces his body parts for the occasion. After they arrive, things kinda go to shit. Lifeline finds her parents, they have an awkward hug, Gibby runs into his pissed off ex-boyfriend Nick, Pathfinder stumbles across a mercenary squad about to crash the party, and Octane blows some mud in the bowl. The mercenaries explode into the party, knocking out Pathfinder, and their leader Creighton threatens Lifeline's life. Apparently, Pathfinder learned the way of the bamboozle from Mirage and grapple punch boosts Creighton into a pillar. At the same time, Octane comes crashing through the ceiling, riding a statue hand tied to Lifeline's drone. He rides it straight into Creighton, pinning him against its middle finger. Lifeline's parents are all like, "Oh man, you guys are the best, please take this battery you were here for," which they do and install it into the old Marvin. After activation, the Marvin plays an audio log for Pathfinder, providing more clues about his creators. Pathfinder's quest eventually led to none other than Cuban Blisk, who explained the truth of Pathfinder's past and gave him a picture of his creators. Then he asked a very intriguing question.
One more thing. Did you ever find the other one?
What other one?
The one they made from you. Your spare parts. That would run a pretty high price if you find them.
I have a child?
What?
I have a child!
So Pathfinder's new goal is to find his child, of which he apparently thought was Lifeline's drone Doc at first.
Doc, you're friendly and a robot. That proves you're my child. Yay, family.
But Lifeline sets him straight.
Doc and your kids, so you know. Came off an assembly line like plenty others.
There was also a time when Pathfinder kind of dated his mom, but that's all covered in my full story and lore of Ash video, so go check that one out next. Oh, and some real quick trivia, Pathfinder is not capable of lying, and his interest in high fives is in reference to this Marvin in Titanfall that wants a high five, but you don't give it to him. Speaking of high fives, if you enjoyed the video, hit those high five buttons below. Wait, those aren't high fives.